Aren't women being artificially boosted ahead?
Yes, with feminism being pushed as much as it is, I think the narrative can be twisted wrong that it's pushing men out of the picture, whether fighting for equality.
What if men are just opting out?
A lot of them are due to the uphill battle that we're facing when going against, but we're being a man these days. But yeah, a lot of them are.
So what do y'all think? Do you think men are being held back, or they're just opting out and saying, I'm not doing it?
I honestly don't disagree with that. I just think that comes down to weak men.
If men and boys are falling behind, why are we still talking about the wage gap?
I do not know, because I think it's pretty clear cut that I believe that there are certain jobs that just are meant for us to do, and certain jobs women are meant to do. I don't know what the wage gap is for. Equal pay is cool in certain situations, but nah.
Why is everything so heavily stacked against men?
Well, they did kind of create that system for themselves in a way.
It was created by a group of men, not all men.
Feminism. I just got one word for that one. Feminism. I think the feminism era has changed the way everything and the dynamic is viewed in the world today.
I firmly believe that feminism obviously was created by men. I think it was created to pimp women out.
You need to leave.
Do you know the type of psyop you have to give someone for you to convince them that they should leave their home and their family to go work, to go pay you? And then after they work and they go and pay you, everything that they pay for is going to be way more expensive.
Gotcha.
Let's say the average house cost was $6,000. The average salary was about $3,000 a year. So that's like half of whatever a house will cost. And this is why, a man before could raise a family of 4 kids and a wife by himself on one income. Here you go right here. In 1940 USA, the average cost of a house was significantly lower than it is today, especially when compared to the average annual salary at the time, right? The average house cost in the 1940s approximately $3,900. The average annual salary, the average annual income was $1,700. Think about that. It's about half of whatever the price of a house is. What does the average house cost right goddamn now? It's around $400,000, right? If you had to equate that and do the same exact thing, that means the average salary now would have to be about $200,000 or high $100,000.
I truly believe that. They have more rights, they have more openness and everything. They're more supported by the world than we are. I believe that.
So why do we view gay men as more oppressed than straight men?
I don't. The masses do.
It's a good question.
But I don't view it that way. I can tell you that.
So is masculinity the solution, or is masculinity the problem?
I think masculinity is the solution. I mean, what they complain about, they oppress, they kind of make you look like a fool if you are masculine. So I think masculinity is the solution. We get more masculine men in the world, things get back in order.
Masculinity is important in strength and loyalty and courage. I believe those are all masculine attributes. So I think it can both help, but if it's used in the wrong way, it can be very destructive.
Translation, masculinity, for the things that I need it for and I want it for, is good. But the second that I don't want it and I don't want it in this area, then it's just bad. I want to flip-flop through what I want and what I don't want.
What's the difference between toxic masculinity versus healthy masculinity?
It can't, that's a tricky one, because I kind of teeter the line. I don't think there's a such thing as toxic masculinity unless you're abusing it for the wrong reasons. But as a man, you should want to be masculine at all times.
There is such a thing as toxic masculinity. I think when it gets taken too far, it gets taken out of context as what a man should be, it gets disrespectful in many ways. A healthy masculinity is just being confident in who you are, understanding what you're capable of, but not going around trying to pound your chest like you're King Kong.
What's toxic masculinity? What would y'all say? Like, what would be a definition of toxic masculinity? If you're here right now, make sure you hit the goddamn like button. I appreciate y'all being here.
Toxic masculinity is the idea that if you are not oppressive, then you are not a man. You can't cry. You can't paint your nails. You can't live your life.
Okay. I already knew she had an answer. Toxic masculinity is basically being the man that women actually want, right? So it's toxically masculine to think that you cannot paint your nails. However, if you do paint your nails, women not going to want to talk to you en masse. The majority of women not going for that. She looked like she is from like the 70s or something like that. So I'm pretty sure she could do the goth guys and the guys that's free and do all that. That's her thing. Basically doing everything that women would not like.
You can't cry. You can't paint your nails. You can't live your life. It's the conservative idea of what a man should be compared to masculinity, where you can be sure of the fact that you are a man and still express yourself the way you want.
How is the idea that all men are expected to conform to a masculine standard not toxic in and of itself?
Oh, it is toxic in and of itself. Thank you for bringing that up.
It is toxic. They shouldn't all have to conform to the same thing because girls don't all have to conform to the same thing. We can all be different and nobody cares. But if guys aren't fitting like this kind of same masculine standard, then they're shamed in a way.
Are men shamed more for being strong and masculine, or are they shamed more for not being masculine enough?
Depends on who you talking to and what day, who you make you feel good. One day you'll get shamed for being masculine, next day you're not masculine enough. It all depends on the day and what they want to push.
If men have to conform to a pre-scripted masculine identity in order to qualify as a real man, why aren't alpha males seen as the biggest NPCs?
You know what? And people that understand the world do see that. It's just like I said, when they need you to be that man, they'll accept it. When not, you won't be seen as that.
I think men are going based off of a script that has always been, and they're staying traditional. But women, however, they're going off of a new script they're trying to create and seeing what works. Right now, it's not working, and I don't think it will ever work. As long as the society and the culture is the way it is, there can be a greater social or a better social change, but it's not. This right here is not really the answer that what they're doing right now. It's creating single families, it's creating messed up childhoods, it's creating trauma and everything, and also the men too. So just be careful about where you plant your seed.
Mm-hmm.
Are women only oppressed by men, or are they also oppressed by other women?
Good question.
Other women the most. They the ones that down each other the most and set the standard. I mean, we're pretty black and white, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's more other women.
So they have a lot of pressure to be pretty, to be a certain way, depending on the way society is, whether it's being a homemaker, if a woman chooses to be traditional, or depending on a man. Right now in this culture, they get, scrutinized for it. But they get a lot of scrutiny from both sides. But definitely nowadays, it's a heavy attack on the traditional woman, which it shouldn't be.
Should society ignore when women oppress other women?
No. 100% not. It doesn't matter where the suppression or the oppression is coming from. It should never ever be ignored.
So then why do women ignore men's oppression when it comes from other men?
Gotcha.
That's actually an excellent question. I have seen that in society. I do agree with you with that.
I don't think it should ever be ignored, but they ignore it when they oppress men, so why not?
Mm-hmm.
So then why do women ignore men's oppression when it comes from other men?
Because honestly, I think it goes for relatability and feelings. If they can't relate to it, they don't understand how it feels. It doesn't affect them. They go off what they feel.
Women do not care about men. Women barely care about the men that they with. The second that he doesn't provide, it's pretty much over for you, brother. You have to provide something to her. It's no, I just like you and just love you. No. You're doing something, and then she'll do something back in order to get more out of you. It's kind of like the woman getting the BBL, right? When a woman goes out there and she gets a BBL, the BBL is the investment. Because now I'm giving you this BBL that you never asked for, and I expect more back for whatever it is. This is the reason why pre-body, before, she's going to accept one thing. I can guarantee you post-body, after she goes and gets her, inflation, once she goes and get that inflated, she going to want more. She's not going to want the same exact thing before and after. They'll leave you high and dry. Men find that out the hard way.
That is an excellent question. I think it's more of men have made themselves seem so much like they have this pride about them where they can handle it all on their own. And so we kind of stay out of it because if we get in the way, we're afraid that it'll backfire on us.
How are we living in a patriarchy if men have oppressed men more than they've ever oppressed women?
That's a good question.
That's an interesting one. Man, you caught me with that one. I don't know. I got to look into that.
See, I personally don't think we live in a patriarchy. If you look around the world, there's a lot of women in power. There's a lot of women in high-profile positions. Again, coming from the political world myself, I've seen women in positions of authority. So I just don't really view that as a patriarchy. I think it's just all about media spin when it comes to that to get votes.
Men have always oppressed other men. I feel like that's the entire point of war. Men oppressing women was just a sport play for them, taking away voting rights, taking away abortion rights. It's just extra control or power for them in a sense.
When did men take away voting rights for women? When did women have voting rights and men took them away? If y'all know something, y'all let me know about that one, all right? That is true.
If men fought to liberate women, why aren't women fighting to liberate men?
Because it doesn't affect them. They only care about what they feel. Relatability is the key. They only go off what they feel.
Yeah, because women don't care about men. We just keep improving our point.
Some women, not all, but some women don't see our pain, or they don't believe our pain and suffering.
90 women don't want to fight to liberate men because they don't care.
Somebody said it. They just don't care. And it is what it is, right? But they just don't care. So you're like, oh, men's in power and stuff like that. I'm like, what are you talking about? The guy in Starbucks is not in power. The guy behind the McDonald's counter or at CVS and your Walgreens are not in power. The mechanic is not in power, right? The plumber that comes, he's not in power. What are you talking about? Yes, males are in power. That's the top 0.0001% of men. That's a few men. That has nothing to do with all of men. But then again, the benefits that women get applies to all women, not all men. It's no benefit that men get.
So then why should men care about women's liberation or women's freedom or women's rights?
Because we like women.
Because we have the power of force, so we have to care about others in order for social change.
But technically, if you have the power of force, you don't have to care about anybody because nobody can do nothing to you. So technically, you don't have to. So that's wrong right there. You're just saying that you should, and men are actually good people. That's why they do it.
How would men have the power to enforce women's rights if they don't even have the power to enforce their own rights?
They do. So I go to Harvard Law School, not trying to throw it in anybody's face or anything like that. But it has to change through precedents, which is basically prior court rulings, and they have to go off of that. So in order for social justice to change like lawyers can do, you have to create that.
Why was there a men's liberation movement during the 1970s? What do you think men needed to be liberated from?
This push that we're fighting with right now, the feminism push, the first wave of that somehow got fought off, that we need to figure out how to fight it now.
Why do men complain about the way men are treated and have harder lives? At the same time, men want to keep themselves in roles that oppress them.
Oh, I mean, I think a lot of dudes just don't like change. So they will stick with whatever the status quo is until there is change, but they'll just stick with it and just, disguise it as the duty of being a man.
It's not crime.
Because it's our nature, it's human nature. I think that our genetic makeup is designed for us to be in a certain role. And no matter what happens, most men and real men want to stay in that position.
Why do people think that men wanting to be liberated from their oppression means that men want to become women?
Well, I think that's something that emotionally manipulative women do in order to shame men to not have them fight for their rights. It's an emotional tactic, but I think men should fight for their rights the same way women fight for their rights. That's the only way things are going to change.
Why is it that men will reluctantly accept their fate anytime an injustice is pointed out? It is what it is, or that's just part of being a man?
That's how we're conditioned. That's something I'm actually working through in therapy. It is what it is, or just accepting circumstances. It's part of what we sign up for as men. And we're accountable. We're way more accountable than women. Don't kill me, y'all, but that's what I feel.
Men are often shamed for having a victim or defeatist mindset. How is saying it is what it is not just having a defeatist mindset?
It's accepting of it. It is that, actually, but it's the way society has conditioned us to be. So I think that it kind of goes both ways. It's teetering the fine line.
Why are women praised for going their own way as an independent woman, while men are shamed for going their own way as a MGTOW?
Because it's scary for women to go their independent way. Men are often always known to be independent, as that is the masculine, the idea of masculinity. But women...
No, that's not the idea of masculinity. That's the idea of being an adult. What adult doesn't pay their own bills and do their own things? And then especially the adults that, wanted to be free from the burden of being under a man. That's kind of weird.
Have never been away, and they are constantly shamed for being independent. So it's prideful to be able to go away.
Men historically have always been able to go their own way. Women are just now being able to go their own way. And I think that there is a slight change in society right now where women are starting to realize that going their own way really isn't the best, because we're made for each other and we're made to build together. But as long as you try, it takes two people to lift the couch. But if you think you're going to do it on your own, go right ahead. But we'll see how far that gets you later in life.
Why is women's empowerment all about liberation and choice, while men's empowerment is all about masculinity, duty, and sacrifice, which is actually the opposite of liberation and choice?
Because men, we have a role and a position to fulfill. Women want to do to men things until it doesn't benefit them anymore. A lot of those women that feel that way. So they're fighting for something, but they don't know what they're fighting for.
How can what empowers one gender be the opposite of what empowers the other?
That's how it's supposed to be. There are gender roles in society, no matter what you believe in. I solely believe that is how it's supposed to be. Some things are for women and some things are for men.
Why do men have obligations while women have choice?
That might be only in America, so because I have learned that traveling the world, that's just a systemic thing that's been put in place. Freedom of choice is for them, but we're obligated to do certain things. For example, child support. Next.
I think it's because we put the obligations on ourselves. For example, my girlfriend, I give her options. For me, it's never an option. What I provide for her, what I do for her is my duty, the way I look at it. For her, it's, hey, you've got the option to go to work today. You've got the option to go shopping today. I think it's just creating a simpler lifestyle for them while we bear the burden of that lifestyle.
And then to get demonized for doing so. One day, men are going to wake up and be like, hell no. F you. I am not doing this no more. The fact that you know that this is your burden, and this, is the real reason behind this that nobody's ever really going to talk about. The reason why men do that, because you will be shamed if you don't. And somewhere in this side, you want to be a good person. So he's like, all right, if I'm going to be shamed for not doing something, then I'll just do the thing, right? But women are not going to be shamed. So therefore, it's like they can go free and do whatever they want to do because the guy's not going to say nothing. Like, oh, she don't want to go to work? Be like, all right, man, whatever. But for a guy, you don't want to go to work, it's not happening. She's not taking care of you. So the same people that's saying you're a bad person is the same people that wouldn't do the thing that you do for them, right? Like whatever you do for them, they will not do for you. But you're the bad person in that situation. Make that make sense, Lord Jesus.
So then why do men want to complain about them having harder lives or the way they're treated? At the same time, we want to keep accepting all these burdens.
Yeah, that comes down to a masculinity issue. I think men who were brought up in an environment that's not. I'm trying to think of a good way to put this that's camera friendly. Yeah, it's your environment. Like I grew up in the South, I'm from Texas. And so men down there, it's different. We bear that burden. Yeah, we got something to say about it at times, but we shoulder that. I think men on the West Coast, it's a different environment. They love to complain. They love to, try to put the blame on somebody else or divert that responsibility. That to me all centers back to where you're from, your upbringing, and how you were raised.
How do we have a true patriarchy when men are mere figureheads bound to serve women?
We don't. We used to have a patriarchy. On the grand scheme of things, you would just think we do. But if you ever delve into it, I don't think it's necessarily that anymore.
We are bound to serve women because it's our duty, but we are also letting a lot of women, not good women, because there are some good women out there, but we allow the emotionally manipulative women to use our duty and our in this culture to also manipulate us and to serve them.
I don't think we're living in a patriarchy. I think we're living in a matriarchy. I think women run this like it's nobody's business. I mean, it's the power of the poom poom, baby. Like, where's the patriarchy? Where is it? I can't find it.
Stop it. Get some help.